Okay, in this lesson, I want to talk about your circle of wealth. Now, I did talk about this briefly in the webinar, but I really want to dive into this because this sets the foundation for the entire Wealth Mastery course. This is a big deal. So I want to dive into this. So this is your circle of wealth. Now, yours is bigger than some and it's maybe smaller than others, but we all have one thing in common, and that is that we want our circle of wealth to grow. Right? So when we focus on our circle of wealth, we typically look at it in three different categories. There's the lifestyle money over here, which is the money that you're currently spending on your current lifestyle, and you probably don't want to touch that money there because you obviously want to continue your same lifestyle. Then there's this money that's this transferred money, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then there's this accumulated money. The accumulated money is the money that you're currently saving or that you already have saved. And this is where most people spend most of their time, right? So that's why they think that they have to either save more or they have to increase their income, maybe get better returns. And that's because we're always focused on this accumulated money. So let's kind of dive into this and look at a typical scenario. So ask yourself, where do you think you stand as far as how well you are prepared for retirement on a scale of 1 to 10? Think about that for a minute. I'm just going to choose 6 for this case study. Now, in this example, we're going to take a 40-year-old who wants to retire at age 65, who has a life expectancy of 84 years old. Let's say that this client is currently making $100,000 a year and they're saving $10,000 a year. And let's say that they currently have $120,000 saved. And let's say that if you look at that a little bit closer, let's say that $100,000 of it is in their retirement accounts and maybe $20,000 of it is in their savings, okay? Now, this client also has some expected Social Security income coming in, kicking in at age 67, running through 100 years old, basically the rest of their life. That is at $30,000 a year. We'll even throw a little cost of living adjustment on there. Let's say that they get to increase their Social Security income during retirement. We'll put that on there. And let's say that this client thinks that they can average about a 6% return during retirement year or during accumulation years and maybe 5% when they're actually retired, because a lot of people want to be a little more conservative with their investments during retirement. Now, this client here has an income or a lifestyle, actually, not an income, but a lifestyle of $90,000 a year. Because if their income is $100,000 and they're saving 10% of it or $10,000 a year, that means they're actually spending $90,000. So that's our future lifestyle with inflation that we're going to be shooting for. That's our goal, is to maintain that same style, right? That same lifestyle, that same level of living. Okay? So let's see how well this client is doing. These are our tanks. We're going to be looking at these tanks a lot during this course because everything about your money can be found on this page with these tanks. And so in this example, we have our future income potential for this client of $4.8 million. That is a huge tank because that's a huge number. Now, this is not only the income that they're going to be earning until they retire, but this is also their future Social Security income. If they died, they would lose it. So they need to have that future income potential. They need to stay alive for a long time. They're also saving $10,000 a year. So you've got an inflow of $100,000 and saving or spending, 90. So $90,000 is their current lifestyle. They've got a little bit of money saved in their investment tank and a little bit saved in their savings tank. It's a little bit higher than what we were looking at a minute ago because we're 1 year into it. So 1 year from now, it's going to have a little bit of growth in there, right? So let's go ahead and see what happens over the years as we start to grow this. Well, a couple of things are happening. You can see that their investment tank is filling up, so that's good. Their savings tank is filling up as well, or not really filling up, but it's growing, all right? And their remaining income potential is actually going down as they get older. So a couple things that we're noticing there. The other thing that we're noticing as we see these years go on is that now they need $153,000 to live with the same lifestyle as $90,000 before because of that inflation, the silent killer, all right, inflation. So let's continue to go all the way through until they actually retire at age 65 and they start to drain those tanks And then eventually they are out of money, minus a little bit of Social Security still trickling in. But obviously they're down to a very small lifestyle, not what they were used to, not what they were expecting. Okay, so this client, not exactly on track. If we look at the actual numbers, let's start at the beginning up here. And this client has an account balance of $137,000, which is growing. It's growing at 6% during the accumulation years, and then we're dropping that back to 5% during the retirement years, right? Their income, their age is actually going up, so their need is going up for income because, check this out, as we look down here, when they get ready to retire, they need $188,000 a year to live on the same lifestyle as $90,000 a year. Pretty shocking, isn't it? That's because of this 3% inflation over here. Now, you'll also notice that their account balance grew to $1 million. They're a millionaire. That's great, $1.2 million. But because of inflation and because of how much they need to live on, that quickly runs out to the magic age of 72 when they're out of money. Now, if you're like most people and you're looking at your numbers and you're trying to see where you stand, and if you're short, then what are we going to do? We're going to look at a few different things up here that most people are going to focus on. For example, rate of return. I remember sitting down and playing with these compound interest calculators to figure out how much I would need to earn if I wanted to retire in time. The crazy thing is that this client needs 10.22% average during their accumulation years, and then we could drop back to 5% during retirement. So they need to try to find a better product that pays better returns or take on more risk. At least that's what they think. It may not be the truth, but that's what they think. They think that it's all about finding products that pay better returns. Remember in my webinar, I talked about my story. I spent my entire career chasing higher returns until I learned that it's actually the knowledge and how to avoid mistakes that actually can benefit you more than just finding a higher return. But that's one option, okay? So let's reset and try another option. How about saving more? How much would we have to save? Well, for this particular client, they would have to save almost $30,000 a year. Remember, they're only saving $10,000 right now. That's 3 times as much in savings. And so that's the other thing that we all focus on. I remember thinking, I need a better job. I need to make more money. If I make more money, I'll have more disposable income and then I can save more. That's what we're all focused on. These 2 things are probably what we focus on the most. And then a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm never going to retire. I'm going to have to work forever, okay? So maybe they just accept the fact that they're going to work until they're 73 years old. Not their goal, not what they wanted, okay? But that might be the reality for a lot of people. If they don't think they can get a better return, and if they can't save more, maybe they just think they're going to work forever, right? Or maybe, like a lot of people, they think, well, maybe I'll sell my house, I'll downsize, I'll get rid of the kids, they're going to move out, right? And maybe during retirement, I'm going to be able to spend less. Well, with inflation, that is a 47% lifestyle reduction. So even if your house is paid off, even if your kids are out of the house, even if you move from somewhere where it's really expensive to somewhere where it's really cheap to live, is that feasible for your situation? But those are the 4 main areas. There's not much we can do with inflation, so we don't even really talk about that. But these are the 4 main areas that most people are focusing on to try to improve their retirement situation. And that's because most people are only focused on the accumulated money, the money that they're currently saving or the money that they already have saved. But what about what we call wealth transfers, or in other words, that transferred money? Our wealth transfers are money that we're transferring away unknowingly and unnecessarily. We call it our opportunity costs. So for example, how are we funding our retirement plans? How are we paying off our mortgage? How are we investing our money? Are we paying excessive taxes in our investments? What about our insurance costs? Could our insurance costs be less? What about how we're paying for college? I've built an entire company around paying for college and helping families to pay for college and get all that money back during retirement. All right. And what about other major purchases? What about credit cards and debt? Or what about how you fund even your retirement or other major purchases? When you buy cars and things like that. What about all of these different areas? Are you making mistakes? Are you transferring away money unknowingly and unnecessarily? Well, remember, it's all about understanding the game of money. It's about the knowledge. It's that knowledge that you have about wealth strategies. Have you ever sat down with a mortgage guy that says, hey, if you have a 15-year mortgage, then you're going to be able to save all this money in interest, right? You're going to save all this money in interest and you're going to pay your house off faster. But does he actually talk to you about, what you could be doing with that extra money? Instead of putting it towards your mortgage, what if you could be putting it over here, earning a higher rate of return than what you're paying on your mortgage? They don't talk about that because that's not their area, of expertise. Same with taxes. Have you ever met with a CPA that says, hey, if you put all this money into your IRA, you're going to reduce your income, therefore reduce your taxes for this year? But do you think taxes are going to go up or down in the future? If you think taxes are going to go up in the future, is it possible that you're postponing your taxes until later where you might be paying more taxes than if you just paid them now? So does your CPA understand the big picture in how your taxes are going to look over the next 30 years? Or is he just talking about the taxes for this year? Same with buying a car and everything else. When you go to finance a car or when you put money on credit cards, do you understand the game and how it's played? Because if you were to go and play the game of tic-tac-toe with the 3-year-old, you'd probably win every time because you know the rules, right? If you know the rules, right, and you know the strategy, then you have a chance of winning. Where if you don't know the rules, then you very rarely have a chance of winning. And that is our goal. Our goal is to teach you the game of money and increase that circle of knowledge. Now, remember, this is where most people focus. They ignore all of this. They don't even know about this because that's money that they're transferring away unknowingly and unnecessarily. They may not know that they're paying too much in taxes and the interest on their accounts, and they don't want to mess with their lifestyle. So everyone focuses on just that savings and investing, and they think they have to take on more risk. Remember, we just looked at it a minute ago. Instead of getting a 6% return, they want to be able to get a 10% return. If they get a 10% return, all their problems are solved. But is that possible to consistently get a 10% return? It may be possible, but it's going to take a lot of risk. And that's the challenge. That's why people get suckered into Ponzi schemes. That's why people are chasing Bitcoin and the next big thing that comes out, because they're trying to get these big returns and they figure that those big returns are going to solve all their problems. Now, remember we talked about the reason why we have a golfer here is because if you're going to go play in the Masters golf tournament, and I can give you one of two things, either the golf clubs of anybody who's ever played a round of golf or their ability, which would you rather have? Remember, it's the ability that is so much more important. Now, if you're a female watching this, we'll change that to the female golfer, right? We're not sexist, either one, okay? So it doesn't matter what clubs you're playing with. It's all about the ability or your technique, and that is what we're going to focus on. Okay, so remember, if you just save money and just try to get the best rate of return possible, your circle of wealth is going to increase. But if you're not paying attention to all these other areas, they are also going to increase as well. Okay, so if we know that focusing on our accumulated money is not going to get us where we want to be, what about this transferred money? What if we could focus on this transferred money? Now, if we are making $100,000 and we're saving $10,000 at a 6% return, then that is only $600 a year that you're earning, right? So that means that you're actually spending $90. So our goal is yes, we want to look at this and we want to look at this and we want to look at this to make sure that we're as efficient as possible on the money that you're saving. But more importantly, we really want to focus on the money that you're spending, because just 1% more efficient on the money that you're saving or spending, the money that you're spending, just 1%, just reducing your expenses by 1% is the equivalent of $900, not $600, right? $900, which $900 on a 10% or on a $10,000 savings amount is the equivalent of a 9% return. Well, what if you could actually, shave off 2%? What if you could be more efficient by 2%, right? 2% is $1,800 or an 18% equivalent return on the $10,000 that you're saving. That's an extra $1,800 a year into what you can save, which of course 18% of 10,000 is $1,800, just to show you the math behind all of this. And that is the goal. The goal is to be more efficient in what it is that you're actually spending. Okay? So I've used this analogy before. You saw this in the webinar. We're going to be talking about holes in your bucket all the time. And if you have all these different holes in your bucket, all right, all of these mistakes, then it doesn't matter how much money, whether you're putting a little money into your bucket or a lot of money into your bucket, you're never going to fill up your bucket with all these holes, okay? You need to plug the holes. If you plug the holes, then you can actually fill up your bucket. So our goal in this course is to help you to be more efficient. Once your situation looks like this, then we can focus on making sure we're increasing the amount of money that can go into our investments and maybe reach our goals even faster. But we need to be efficient along the way in how we do it. Now, if I were a doctor and I were just going to give you a generic prescription for your financial health, it would be to save 20% of your income. That's the goal. Now, that's a generic recommendation. Your situation might be completely different. But a general recommendation or a general rule of thumb is to save 20% of your income without having any debt other than your house and live on 80%. That's the goal, okay? That number for this family would be $29,000 a year. That's what they need to be able to hit their goal, to kind of catch up and to be where they need to be. So our goal is to be able to find that money and help them to save that money to reach their goals. Now remember, as part of this course, you have unlimited coaching calls. So at this point, if you want to run any of your numbers into what we've been talking about, this retirement ready or not exercise, if you want to plug in your specific numbers and see where you stand, then make sure you find the link to our calendar, book your appointment, meet with us, let us run some of the numbers for you, because that's the advantage of this course. It's not just about learning, it's about interacting, and it's about applying this information to your situation. All right, so thanks for watching this lesson. Click on the next lesson and let's move on.